Last time we talked, I asked you to try this problem right here for me and to take a picture of it and put it in Canvas. And I wanted you to have some feedback, so this is what it should have looked like when you were done with it. So take a moment, look at it, see how you did. Okay, so now I am going back to the whiteboard problems that I started the other day, and I have those linked on the Canvas calendar if you want to access them and look at them. If not, you can just look at what I'm doing here and just follow along and soak it all in. So these are the whiteboard problems that are posted on your Canvas calendar. All right, so we had done all of the graphs that were above them. And so now we're practicing what we've been working on the last day. Okay. So our axis of symmetry equation. Does anybody remember it? X equals opposite of B over 2 times A. All right, so remember A is the number in front of the X squared, so my A is a 1. B is the number in front of the X, so B is a -2. And C is the constant, so C is a -3. So it wants me to take the opposite of B. So what's the opposite of a -2? A +2. Then to take 2 times our A, and our A is a +1. So what is 2 times 1? It is 2. So recopy the 2, so I've got 2 over 2, and 2 divided by 2 makes 1. So my axis of symmetry is X equals 1. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write X equals 1. Okay, the vertex. Do you remember what you know? Whatever you get for the axis of symmetry, that's the X coordinate to your vertex. If this is a 2, this is a 2. If this is a 20, this is a 20. If this is an 8, this is an 8. And now we use some common sense. If this is an X, then you take it and you plug it in this X and plug it in this X. So I'm going to have Y equals, slap parentheses down, get the 1 up into that X, put your squared on the outside, -2, slap parentheses down, get your 1 into that X, and recopy -3. And then I'm going to put all of that into the graphing calculator. All right, so I'm going to go to the graphing calculator again. All right, so I am going to clear this off. Okay, going to zoom in just a little bit. All right, what do I have? 1 squared minus 2 times 1. All right, so parentheses, 1 squared minus 2 times 1, and then -3. So -3. Okay, and then I'm going to hit enter, and I get -4. So that is the Y value of my vertex. Okay, the y-intercept, remember, as long as the equation's in standard form, no parentheses, highest exponent to lowest, is always 0, C, and C is your constant, -3. All right, now, do you remember, does this graph open up or down? Since the A is a positive number, the graph opens up. If a graph opens up, do you have a max or a min? You have a min, because the vertex is the lowest point. Well, I want to know how low is that vertex. So I look at the y-coordinate of the vertex, and that's how low he is. So the max and min always has to do with the vertex, because it's either the lowest point of the graph or it's the highest point of the graph. And to know how low it is, you just want the y-coordinate of the vertex. Or if you want to know how high it is, you would want the y-coordinate to the vertex. Okay, let's do another one. All right, so I am going to skip problems 2 and 3, and I'm going to go to number 4. Now this one looks a little bit different. Do you notice why? It's because it's missing the x. So can you tell me who's A? A is -1. That's the number in front of the x squared. So who do you think B is? B is 0. If there's no x in the problem, that means there's a 0 in front of it, because 0 times x would just be 0, meaning you don't need it. And C is the constant, the number without the variable, so C is 1. All right, axis of symmetry time. So we do our new formula, x equals opposite of B over 2 times A. So what's the opposite of 0? Still a 0. Then we're going to take 2 times our A. So I'm going to take 2 times -1. And what is 2 times -1? -2. And what is 0 divided by -2? 0. So our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals 0. So that is our axis of symmetry. X equals 0. So what do you know about the vertex? The x-coordinate is 0. Whatever you get for your axis of symmetry, that's the x to your vertex. Now, because he is Mr. X, you need to put him into the x. So it's going to go y equals, type your negative, parenthesis, get your 0 up into that x, the squared on the outside, plus 1. Now, this is too easy to do on the calculator. What's 0 squared? 0 times 0. 0. The opposite of 0, still a 0. And 0 plus 1? 1. So that's the y value to our vertex. Okay, the y-intercept is 0, C. And who did we say C was? 1. Now notice the vertex and the y-intercept happen to be the same this time. So sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, do you think this graph is going to open up or down? It's going to open down. Since our A is a negative number, the graph opens down. So when a graph opens down, do you have a max or a min? You have a max because the vertex is the highest point. And do you know how high that is? It's a 1. Whatever the y-coordinate is to the vertex, that's always your max or min value. All right. So on these whiteboard problems, I am going to ask you to do number 5 and number 6. So these are linked on the calendar if you need to see them or if you want to print them. But if you don't want to, that's fine. You can just work these problems on a blank piece of paper. So I want you to find the axis of symmetry, vertex, y-intercept, and the max or min value for number 5 and number 6. And then when you're done, I want you to take a pic of your work. So take a picture of your work, and I want you to put it on Canvas. And then we'll go over how you did on those. Okay, so those are the 2 problems that I want you to do for me. And when you're done doing that, you're done for the day in my class. Okay, that's all. Smiley face.